In a quaint, picturesque town nestled between rolling hills and whispering forests, there lived a toymaker named Elias Hartman. Elias was renowned throughout the region for his extraordinary creations. His shop, tucked away on a cobblestone street, was a place of wonderment for children and adults alike. Elias possessed a unique talent, a talent that allowed him to craft dolls and dollhouses that were nothing short of magical. His works were said to capture the very essence of the people they depicted, and those lucky enough to own one of his creations felt an inexplicable connection to them. One crisp autumn morning, Elias had a vision. He saw a dollhouse in his mind's eye, a dollhouse unlike any he had ever made before. This dollhouse would be special, he thought, for it would mirror the lives of a family in his town, the Blythes. The Blythes were a pleasant family, well known for their cheerful demeanor and the love they shared for one another. Elias believed that this dollhouse, reflecting their joys and sorrows, would be a masterpiece beyond compare. With unwavering determination, he began crafting the dollhouse. He worked tirelessly for weeks, pouring his heart and soul into every detail. The miniature furniture, the tiny paintings on the walls, and even the miniature family of dolls inside were all meticulously handcrafted by Elias himself. When he finally completed the dollhouse, he marveled at his creation. It was a perfect replica of the Blythe family's home, down to the tiniest nuances. The dolls inside bore an uncanny resemblance to Mr. and Mrs. Blythe, along with their two children, Emma and Samuel. However, as Elias put the final touches on the dollhouse, a strange feeling washed over him. It was as though he had breathed life into this creation, imbuing it with a power he couldn't quite comprehend. Elias decided to deliver the dollhouse personally to the Blythe family. As he placed it on their doorstep, he couldn't shake the eerie sensation that the dollhouse held a secret, a power beyond his control. The Blythes, upon receiving the gift, were astounded by its craftsmanship. They placed it in their living room, where it became the centerpiece of their home. Little did they know that this seemingly innocuous dollhouse would soon alter the course of their lives. At first, the changes were subtle. The dolls inside the dollhouse seemed to move on their own, their miniature lives mirroring those of the Blythe family. If Mr. Blythe went to work, the doll representing him would head to a tiny office desk. If Mrs. Blythe prepared dinner, her doll would be seen cooking in the miniature kitchen. The Blythes dismissed these occurrences as mere coincidences, attributing them to their imaginations. But as the days passed, the similarities between their lives and those of the dollhouse became impossible to ignore. One evening, as Mr. Blythe sat reading a book in his favorite armchair, he glanced at the dollhouse and froze. The doll representing him was reading the exact same book, down to the page he had reached. His heart pounded in his chest as he watched, realizing that this was no mere coincidence. The dollhouse's power didn't stop at mirroring their actions. It began to predict their future. If it showed one of the dolls falling ill, sure enough, a family member would soon fall sick. If a doll appeared sad, a wave of melancholy would wash over the corresponding family member. The Blythes were baffled and increasingly alarmed by these inexplicable events. They tried to hide the dollhouse away, but it would always reappear in the living room the next day, as if it had a will of its own. One fateful evening, as the family sat around their dining table, the dollhouse revealed a scene that sent shivers down their spines. The doll representing Emma, their young daughter, stood beside a miniature well. It was crying, tears made of tiny glass beads rolling. Terrified, Mr. Blythe rushed upstairs to check on Emma. To his horror, he found her room empty, wide open. Panic surged through him as he realized his daughter had vanished. The dollhouse had foretold Emma's disappearance, and it was now clear that its power was not limited to mirroring their lives, it could also influence them. The Blythes were trapped in a nightmare of their own making, unable to escape the sinister pull of the dollhouse. Mrs. Blythe and Samuel, the young son, joined in the frantic search for Emma, but their efforts proved futile. It was as though she had vanished into thin air. The dollhouse, however, offered a chilling clue. Inside the miniature well, there now lay a small, glass teardrop, the same tears that had fallen from the doll's eyes. Desperation drove Mr. Blythe to return to Elias Hartman's shop, hoping to uncover the truth about the dollhouse's curse. Elias, though initially hesitant, admitted that he had sensed an unnatural power within the dollhouse when he crafted it. He revealed that he had never intended for it to bring harm to anyone. Together, Mr. Blythe and Elias delved into the dollhouse's history, uncovering an old legend about a toymaker who had crafted a dollhouse with the power to manipulate lives. This malevolent creation had been sealed away, but it seemed that Elias had inadvertently recreated it. Determined to save his family and find Emma, Mr. Blythe returned home with Elias. They confronted the dollhouse, which had grown increasingly malevolent since Emma's disappearance. The dollhouse seemed to come alive, its dolls moving with a purpose that defied their miniature size. They attacked Mr. Blythe and Elias, their tiny hands surprisingly strong. It was as if the dollhouse itself was fighting to protect its dark secret. As the struggle raged on, Mrs. Blythe and Samuel watched in horror from the sidelines. The dollhouse unleashed a barrage of supernatural phenomena. Objects flew through the air, and shadows danced menacingly on the walls. Elias realized that the only way to break the curse was to destroy the dollhouse itself. He and Mr. Blythe fought valiantly, using fire and force to weaken the malevolent creation. But with each blow, the dollhouse retaliated, causing the very walls of the house to shake. In a final, desperate act, Elias managed to shatter the dollhouse into 1,000 pieces. As the dollhouse crumbled, the curse that had gripped the Blythe family for so long began to unravel. With a blinding flash of light, Emma reappeared, dazed and disoriented but unharmed. She was reunited with her family, and they embraced her with tears of joy. The dollhouse's malevolent influence dissipated, and the miniature dolls lay motionless among the wreckage. It was as though the dark power that had bound them had finally been vanquished. Elias, exhausted but relieved, apologized profusely to the Blythe family for the suffering his creation had caused. He vowed never to create anything like it again and offered to help them rebuild their lives. The Blythe family, forever changed by their ordeal, accepted Elias's apology and assistance. They moved forward, grateful to be reunited and determined to leave the nightmare behind. Elias, meanwhile, dedicated the rest of his life to creating toys that brought joy and happiness to children without the taint of dark magic. The Dollhouse of Dreams had become a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers of meddling with forces beyond one's understanding. As the years passed, the Blythes found solace in their newfound unity and the knowledge that they had overcome a sinister curse. The dollhouse, shattered and powerless, served as a reminder of the darkness they had faced and the strength they had discovered within themselves. And so, the once quiet suburban neighborhood returned to its peaceful existence with the Blythe family at its heart, cherishing the simple joys of life and the love that bound them together, unbreakable and stronger than ever before. Though the dollhouse itself was shattered, its curse had left indelible marks on the Blythe family. They couldn't escape the feeling of being watched, as though the malevolent spirit that once inhabited the dollhouse still lingered. Strange occurrences continued to haunt them. Shadows moved of their own accord, and whispers filled the rooms, their words unintelligible but laden with malice. Mrs. Blythe would often wake in the middle of the night, convinced she had heard Emma's voice calling out to her from the darkness. One evening, as Samuel sat in his room, a chilling realization washed over him. The dollhouse had cast a dark reflection of their lives, and it was far from finished. The room around him began to warp and twist, mirroring the dollhouse's eeriest features. He watched in horror as his own shadow stretched and contorted, its movements entirely independent of his own. Samuel tried to flee the room, but an unseen force held him in place. The shadowy figure continued to elongate and writhe, its form taking on grotesque, unnatural shapes. It grew darker, more malevolent, as if it sought to consume him whole. With every ounce of his willpower, Samuel tore himself away and slammed the door shut. He knew then that the dollhouse's curse had not been fully broken. It still held them in its grip, and it hungered for more. Desperation drove the Blythe family to seek answers from the very source of their torment, Elias Hartman. Elias, racked with guilt over the consequences of his creation, had spent years researching ancient texts and dark rituals in an attempt to find a way to fully break the curse. He revealed to the Blythes that the dollhouse had been crafted with the help of a forbidden ritual, one that bound the spirits of its inhabitants to the malevolent force that fueled it. The only way to truly break the curse, Elias explained, was to reverse the ritual, to free the spirits and imprison the malevolent force within the dollhouse forever. The family, with newfound determination, agreed to undertake the perilous journey. They delved into ancient texts and consulted with mystics and scholars who possessed knowledge of the arcane. Their research led them to a decrepit, long-abandoned mansion on the outskirts of town. It was rumored to be the site of a sinister cult that had once practiced the dark arts. The family believed that within the mansion, they would find the secrets necessary to reverse the curse. The night was dark and foreboding as the Blythe family approached the mansion. The air grew colder with each step they took toward the looming, shadowy structure. As they entered the mansion, the walls seemed to close in on them, and the air grew heavy with an oppressive malevolence. Whispers filled their ears, and spectral figures danced just beyond their vision. It was as though the very walls of the mansion were alive, watching and bleeding. Their search led them deep into the bowels of the mansion, where they discovered a hidden chamber. In the center of the chamber stood an ancient, ornate mirror. It was said to be a portal to the spirit world, a gateway to the very realm where the malevolent force that had cursed them resided. With trepidation, they performed the ritual. They chanted incantations and made offerings to appease the spirits. The mirror shimmered, and a dark, formless entity emerged from within. The entity was a swirling vortex of darkness, a malevolent force that hungered for their souls. It lashed out, sending shadowy tendrils toward them. The family fought back, using the knowledge they had gathered to channel the spirits of the dollhouse. In a climactic battle between light and darkness, the Blythe family channeled the spirits of the dollhouse to confront the malevolent force. With each passing moment, the force weakened, its grip on their lives loosening. The spirits within the mirror, once imprisoned by the malevolent force, lent their strength to the family's cause. With a final, desperate surge of energy, they managed to push the malevolent force back into the mirror, sealing it once more. The mansion shook as the battle reached its climax, and the mirror shattered into 1,000 pieces. The malevolent force was trapped, its power broken, and the curse finally lifted. As the Blythe family emerged from the mansion, they felt a sense of freedom they hadn't known in years. The malevolent force was no longer a threat, and they could finally put the nightmare behind them. But they had not emerged from the ordeal unscathed. The curse had left scars on their hearts and minds, and the memories of their torment would linger for years to come. Elias Hartman, too, was forever changed by the experience. He had seen the consequences of meddling with forces beyond his understanding and vowed to dedicate his life to creating toys that brought only happiness and joy. The Blythe family returned to their quiet suburban neighborhood, forever marked by the ordeal they had endured. They cherished their newfound freedom and the knowledge that they had conquered a malevolent force together. And so, the Dollhouse of Dreams, once a source of terror and torment, became a symbol of resilience and triumph. The Blythe family, bound together by their shared ordeal, moved forward, determined to live their lives free from the shadows of the past.
I'm an icon, man. And my girl about a 10. I should fuck her in a bed.